The following has been brought to you by SJP World Media.
Ayo. Can you hear me yet? Ayo.
Ayo, Dinlo.
Ayo, Dinlo. Oh, and if only people in Gloucester you might know. I'll tell you what. There you go. People in the chat already. I can see there's a few people there already. Do you know what Dinlo means? If you do,
and Sharon, you can't answer because
no, Sharon's not allowed.
No. Yeah,
I imagine so. But yeah, let us know if you know what the word Dinlo means, because that's what me and Maxie were talking about just before the recording. It was quite interesting. So it's not completely random, but anyway. Maxie, I am in a fantastic mood.
Pray tell why.
Well,
because you won a poll.
Reasons.
We had to watch
won a
ridiculous wrestling from the days of Methuselah.
It was 1992. It's not like
I know.
It's not the oldest thing.
30 odd years ago.
Well, there you go. That's not long.
Sharon, haha, you Dinlo.
Dinlo.
And he's close as well. It means
he's close, isn't he? With knobhead, yeah. Dan Griffin's close with knobhead, yeah. Okay. Yeah. Apparently, it's a very Gloucester word.
I have never, until I read it like over the weekend, I'd never heard of the word whatsoever.
I remember using it in junior school. And that was very odd.
Talking into the mirror. Or was it? I don't think you used it in junior school. I think your teacher said it to you regularly in junior school.
Yeah, that's what was.
It means idiot, doesn't it?
Yeah, it means proper
clown.
Drongo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dinlo was actually written into the back of my uniform in case I lost it.
It was actually wrote in on the label by his mum and dad. So they all knew who they were.
Do you know, it's come complete circle. I'll get to the reasons why I'm in a good mood in a moment. But it's come complete circle now with regards to uniform. I'm now 42, and in my job now, my name is in the back of my uniform trousers. Because they get, because of the chemicals and so on, they get taken away and washed for us and then returned and put back in our locker. So they got to have our name in them for them to go into the locker. So we get our own trousers back. But yeah, it's quite funny. Like everyone's got their names stitched into their trousers.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
But yes, I am in a very good mood. I won a poll. I'm buzzing about that. It's been a long time. Well, it feels like it's been a long time. I'm loving the image behind us as well. Every time I look at it, it makes me smile. From Pig's Bladders himself.
Yeah, great work backing Pig Bladders.
Absolutely fantastic. And to this Monday, today, the 20th of November, as we record, 2023, it's now officially a week where we're getting brand new Doctor Who on the television. And I am so excited.
Amazing.
And
there's going to be a Christmas special as well for the first time in a long time. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good, mate. It's good. Old companions are coming back as well. You know, it's going to be good, mate. Well, old doctors are coming back as well with the return of Mr. Tennant, which I know will make my daughter Charlie very happy because that's her favorite doctor. You know, she absolutely adores David Tennant. So
probably the second best doctor.
Who's the first?
Matt Smith.
No, I don't mind Matt Smith, but no.
Maybe Christopher Eccleston then.
Eccleston was great. I really liked Eccleston. Matt Smith was let down a great deal by Rory being his companion for so long because Rory was he was a Dinlo.
I loved Rory.
Oh, fuck off.
Yep.
Rory's
outside the Pandora. He was the guy guarding the Pandorium, weren't he?
Yeah. No, Rory's an absolute
badass. No, Rory was a badass.
Dinlo.
No.
Rory was a Dinlo.
No, I'm not having that. I'm not having that at all.
Yes. Dinlo does mean drongo, idiot, moron, as we said, a bit dopey, whatever. And it's so that we're going to potentially look at in a future episode, Mags, isn't it? Because this week's show is absolutely rammed. We've got so much to discuss. We need to get on with it in a moment. But yeah, I love the idea you've come to us with a list of words that supposedly come and are using from Gloucester to see if I know them or know what they mean. And you ran through 4 or 5 before we started recording.
One. You do one.
I knew one.
One or two. I think 2.
Yeah.
You got 2. So that's not a good start.
No, it's not. It's not. But it could be amusing. It could be amusing. I said we should try and coincide it with something, big in Gloucester, and if there's some occasion coming up.
Festival.
So
I mean, that's the only thing that happens in Gloucester, isn't it?
That's not the only thing that happens in Gloucester.
I thought it shut down for 51 weeks of a year, and then everyone gathered at the top of the hill to roll some cheese.
No, I mean that isn't until I think May, so that's a long way away. If we wait until May, that's going to take a while. So if we coincide it with when Gloucester City Football Club relegation is confirmed, we're probably looking at about a fortnight. So,
because they are so terribly shit,
mate, we're 11 points adrift, rock bottom of the league. We're going down.
You are, and well deserved. It's what you get for hiring an ex-Blackburn manager.
Yeah, ex-England
goalkeeper.
Well. Yeah, and on the mention of the England national team, Tim Flower has been an ex-England player. Thank you so much for people for joining us this evening. We know apparently there's a football match on tonight, but it's the England national team, so that's a waste of time anyway. And they're playing some gang of pig farmers from some little shitty armpit of Eastern Europe or something. So what's the point?
And
stick with us.
Half of the squad withdrew because they knew it would clash with chain wrestling, and they're secretly watching.
Yeah.
So you do the right thing by sticking Dan Griffin in the chat. The England game is shit anyway, and they're losing. They're
losing to Macedonia. Why? Tell you what they want to do. They want to get down to Meadow Park and see if they can call any of the Gloucester boys up. On that note, we should start the show. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever and whenever you may be listening or watching from. This is Chain Wrestling Live with Mags and Si, an SJP World Media Production, episode 138 overall, I think, if I've updated my little counter. I think that's right.
It's 106 live.
Yeah, so 30-odd non-live. That sounds about right, doesn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
You're right.
Okay, sound. Good. Look at me. I am Si, and with me, as always, is the Stinger to my Minger, the Beach Blast to my fat ass, a podcaster who has finally lost a poll because it feels like it's been fucking months. The Podfather himself, Lord Mags. How are you, sir?
I mean, we did scarve for quite a while, so there's that stretch of time when I didn't defend the title, as it were.
Well, yeah. Like Roman Reigns.
Yeah, we only showed up for the big events, and then we go away for months.
I have been Universal Champion for 8 years. I defended the belt twice. 8 years. I have been
ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah, it's been another week of shitty weather, colds, coughs, splutters. But yeah, I'm doing okay.
We've had that in our ice, mate. We've had that in our ice. Sharon was really poorly. Liv's been a bit grotty. Charlie was really poorly as well. It hasn't hit me yet, so I'm expecting it to strike right when I'm at work, which will be amazing.
Exactly. It's like a revolving circle in this house.
Yeah.
I'll get rid of a cold, or the missus will get rid of a cold, and then one of the kids will pick it up, and then they'll infect someone else, and then it just rolls back. It's been permanent. 2023 can fuck off.
Well, it's not far now, mate, is it? We've only got, 6 weeks or something like that? 5 weeks?
6 glorious weeks, yes.
Do you know what's pissed me off as well, on that note? It's bad enough at work because the radio that's in our little room where I do my role within the company, like with the ovens and machines and so on.
The blood drinking.
Yes, exactly. It's it's the radio that is only capable of picking up like 4 radio stations for some reason, even though it's a digital radio. I rescanned it and I think I lost one as opposed to picking up more. But
you made it worse.
Yeah, but the one that we apparently settle on, and it's not my choice. The guy who works there with me, there's only the 2 of us who work in this this section with the machines and that. He's been there 20 odd years. He's retiring in April.
Seniority,
yeah, it's not my place. So we have Smooth FM. For the first day or two,
oh Jesus!
So for the first day or two, Smooth FM was okay. There's a lot of songs I knew, could have a bit of a sing along. It was all right, you know. But now, I mean, everyone's fully aware of my thoughts on Celine Dion. I found myself waking up the other day humming a Celine Dion song because they play that many of them on Smooth FM. But it's got even worse this week, Max, because one lady who does like the sort of late morning lunchtime show has now started playing 1 hour of solid Christmas music.
Oh, for the fucking love of God.
Yeah, it makes me ill. It makes me want to hurt people.
I have had no involvement. The family have started putting Christmas decorations up, and I just want to stab everyone who does it. Because I'm not a fan of Christmas, as I've made abundantly clear. But when the decorations goes up, it means it's here, and yeah, I hate Christmas.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, to be honest. It does frustrate me a little bit. I mean, I like Boxing Day because the football's on. I can have a few beers and so on.
Christmas is over.
Pretty much. But on that miserable, grumpy note, amazingly, because I started the show by saying I was in a great mood, let's see who's in the chat, Magsy.
Let's do it. So first of all, we've got King Pig's Bladders, who I think he's trying to troll me into singing a Sting / the Police song, but I'm not going to do it. But I'll read it out as if it was an actual message. He's put, Roxanne, you don't have to put on the red light. Those days are all, jeez. Sting was a snarly bastard on the sly, weren't he, with his lyrics? You don't have to sell your body to the night. Roxanne, you don't have to wear that dress tonight. Walk the streets for money. You don't care if it's wrong or right. And then Roxanne. Wow, you've got some pipes on you on the slide there, sir.
Well, maybe. So Phil, we did mention it earlier on, sorry, but on that note, it's obviously a Police song, Sting and so on. For those listening on the audio version, if you've not seen it, the picture's been shared on Twitter anyway by Pig's Bladders. It's fantastic stuff. It's me with my head on Cactus Jack's body and Magsy's head on Cactus Jack's opponent, Sting. But Pig's Bladders has got a bit confused, and it's Sting, the musician, as opposed to Sting, the wrestler.
I think it's a joke that works on a lot of levels. It's
numerous levels. Yes,
really good. Next up is Sharon in the chat saying it's Monday night. You know what that means. And Connor from Connor Knows Footer. Hello, sir. How are you? He says hello. Dan Griffin. Dan Griffin, as he's now called. Evening, Mother Cluckers. King Pig Bladders saying hello to all the team. Dan then says Dinlaw means knobhead. Like we said, very, very close. It actually means idiot or drongo. Charlie in the chat. Hello, Charlie. How are you? Hope you're doing well. King Pig Bladders then says, what's a twitchel then, lads? And that's Nottingham dialect. I can't really do a Nottingham accent. It is answered further down, but I don't know if you've seen it. So,
no.
What do you think it is?
I've got no idea. A twitchel? I don't know.
This is the best guess. It's wrong, I think, but it's the best guess. Dan says, is it someone that purrs through people's windows?
It happens that much in Nottingham. They've got their own separate word for it.
Exactly. Connor says Tennant and Donna are back. And Charlie's incredibly happy that Mr. Tennant is back as well. King Pig Bladders says, no, it's just an alleyway, but I don't understand why. So, like an alleyway between like two houses or between two fences, we call them ginnels.
You call them what?
Ginnels.
Giddles or ginnels?
Ginnels, like Grnnels.
Like, just like an alleyway.
Like a pathway between like two buildings or two fences. Yeah, it's called a ginnel.
I wonder if Gloucester's got a specific word for it then. I always just thought it was called an alley.
I mean, there may be one that you just don't know because you didn't know 60% of the other ones.
This is true.
Charlie says also Dr. Donna.
That's right.
Was Donna a doctor? Oh yeah, because she was involved in the regeneration, weren't she?
There were some regeneration shenanigans, and there was a theme running through the season where certain aliens would refer to them as the Dr. Donna, as almost like they were combined as one, as opposed to
Connor says, you watch your Matt Smith slander, sir. And Dan says, nobody loved Rory, not even Rory. Amy Pond loved Rory. So
no, she just kept him around for an ego boost. If she could have had a little bit of Matt Smith, she'd have jumped on that. She'd have been riding those Time Lord bones, mate, rather than hanging around with Rory.
Yeah, but Matt Smith loved River Song.
Well, this is true. Yeah.
So
yeah,
and
look at you with your Doctor Who knowledge.
Isn't as well River Song, Rory and Amy's daughter?
Yep.
Yeah. So that would have been quite weird if she'd have tickled Matt Smith's balls.
Do you know who David Tennant's wife is?
Mrs. Tennant.
Yes, right. But David Tennant's wife is Peter Davidson, who played the fifth Doctor's daughter.
Yeah, I remember reading this a while ago.
Yeah. And when they met, it was because she was a guest star on Doctor Who, playing the Doctor's daughter in an episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's all a bit weird, isn't it?
Incestuous.
In Time Lord.
So essentially, in the storyline, David Tennant is doing the no pants dance with what is his own daughter. Really?
I suppose. Yeah. Yeah, I guess.
That's grim. It's
yeah.
very dark. It's a children's program.
But that's why it's called acting.
King's Pig's Bladder asking the question that we all want to know the answer of. Where's Big Bob?
Where's Big Bob? Oh my word. He's literally next door. We live again. That won't do, will it?
Disgusting.
That won't do. I don't know if Sharon will hear this and sort it, but
yeah. Dan Griffin says even the radio stations won't fuck all to do with Gloucester. Does Gloucester even have a radio station? They won't be Gloucester FM. It'll be like Gloucester NW, won't it? Or Longwave.
Longwave. No, we used to have years ago. We used to have Severn Sound. But
so you shared your radio station with the surrounding areas.
Well, I don't know. I just thought it was like Gloucestershire's station. We got Radio Gloucestershire still, and that looks at
Radio Gloucestershire.
Oh yeah, it's proper, like Radio Norwich.
All right, my lovers.
Alan Partridge was part of and stuff. It is kind of like that. But we had Severn Sound, but that got took over by Heart now. So
I hate Heart. That's a horrific radio station.
Yeah.
Today's big news on Radio Gloucester: a sheep has escaped a field.
Speaking of radio,
Powell's backyard.
Have you heard Morty talk about when he came to Gloucester?
No.
Speaking of sheep, right? This is fantastic. And Morty, if you hear us, if you join us later on, or you hear us on the audio version, I misquote you. I apologize. So I'm literally paraphrasing here. Morty's job means he travels around quite a bit and has to stay in different locations and so on. And one of the places he was working, he stayed in I don't know, like a Holiday Inn or whatever, in a place in Gloucester called Matson, which is, Sharon's best friend lives there. We used to live there. It's not far from us at all. It's just down the road. And he got up early in the morning to go drive off to his next lot of work. And he messaged me, he voice messaged me, voice noted me or whatever you call it on WhatsApp, and basically said, I've never seen anything like this in my life. There's literally sheep walking across the road. Because in Matson, Matson's not like a country. There's a bit of greenery in the hills and that so on, but it's not like, something from fucking Emmerdale Farm or anything like that. Matson's very populated. There's flats, and it can be a bit of a scummy area as well, and there's a lot going on there. But there are just these sheep that have free rein, and they just walk.
The family that caused the most trouble kind of moved out.
Bastard.
And yeah, he said the house prices have gone well up.
But he said like there was just sheep just walking across the road in this housing estate, and we were like, oh yeah, that's just the Matson sheep. That's what they do. They just walk everywhere. And then he messaged me again about 2 minutes later, going, "There's a guy with a gun." And there was just a bloke walking around. There was just a bloke walking around with a massive fucking rifle, and I was like, "Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. That's not.
That's just the Matson gun, man. That's just the Matson killer
gun, man." Oh dear, yeah. So there you go.
So back onto Dan Griffin. He says, Christmas decorations, it's still twatting November. Yeah, I know,
Yes.
Dan. If it was up to me, the decoration go up on, say, the 23rd and they'd be down by the 27th. In fact, there wouldn't be any. There wouldn't
Just
be any
wouldn't
if it
up
were. Yeah. I wouldn't. I'd electrify my door bell, so if people touched it Christmas caroling, they'd go away with singed hair.
Do you get that? Do you get that in Burnley? People knocking on the door caroling?
Christmas begging, that's what I call it, yeah.
Does it happen a lot, does it? Is it common? Like,
it's not as common as it used to be when I were a nipper. But yeah, in the area that we live in, the posh part of Burnley, you do get carol singers. Normally you just get held up at your door. Give me all your chocolate and your money and your phone.
So we don't get any of that.
Because what are you going to sing there? Joy o' the world.
It's the Wurzels cover version. It's
I've got a brand new combine harvester for Christmas. Oh, I'm proper disparaging Gloucesterians today.
You are, mate. You are. Are you salty because you lost the poll? Is that what it is?
No, I'm actually glad because it takes the pressure off. It's hard keeping up a win streak so long.
Oh, right, yeah, like that is it.
So
okay.
now I'm the underdog, so all the pressure's on you to maintain.
Okay.
So next we've got Connor. People who play Christmas music 3 days before Thanksgiving can fuck right off. That's all I'll be hearing for a month straight after Thursday. That's what happens here. It gets earlier and earlier. We'll start hearing Christmas music literally in the middle of November. It's ridiculous. In Gloucester, he believes that alleys are called baby bells, small cheese rolling thoroughfares. That's brilliant.
You have got to be on your guard and constantly dodging the small cheeses flying around. It's like being part of a dairy based Mario Brothers game. There's just stuff flying around trying to knock you over all over the place.
The size of barrels. Connor says he moved south 3 months ago, and the only accents he's picked up is y'all, and y'all want taters or grits. That sounds very Alabama to me. When Americans go y'all.
What's grits? Taters, I'm assuming, is potatoes. But what's grits?
No, taters. I think is it not like tater tots, which are like we call them mini hash browns. But grits is like a lumpy porridge, I think.
Ugh.
Yeah, it. Every picture I've seen of it, it looks grim, like properly grim. Connor says he's almost done with the Smith era with his watch, about 4 episodes left. Dan says it's not that countryside. How much more countryside do you get than free range sheep?
The thing is, like where we are and where Matson is. I mean, Matson's a little bit further afield, I suppose, from the city centre than where we are. But it's all, I would say, for me personally, it's all walking distance to the city centre. So it's not like it's proper countryside, but there are just these fucking sheep everywhere.
I would love that, to be fair.
Yeah,
sheep are cool.
You get some of those to add to your chickens. Magsy's farmyard.
I would definitely have a sheep. There's lots of sheep around where I live, and cows
just
as
take
well.
One. Oh, take one of them as well.
They're owned. They are. People own them, and the cows are a bit massive. They're like 3 ton. So.
The cows are a bit massive.
Anyway, back to the chat. Dan Griffin says, posh part of Burnley, less free-range sheep, more free-range crackheads. Well, I mean, we don't get crackheads around these parts. There's been a lot of tutting on my road because the council have cut one of the trees down to a stump. Yeah, we're not very pleased about it. Our parish council is not very happy about that.
I don't understand.
So that's how posh we are.
I was going to say I don't understand the link between the crackheads and cutting a tree down.
So that's the big problem in my part of Burnley.
Oh, I see.
The tree has been cut down, and there's a lot of tutting about it. But I can go a stone's throw in 3 directions and find crackheads pretty easily. So we are surrounded by crackheads.
Yeah,
they haven't invaded. The crack is too expensive for them to afford to move into my area.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Fair enough.
Dan Griffin, sorry, King Pig's Planet says Donkey Cheese Kong. And then Dan says Donk Brie Kong. I mean, I don't think Gloucesterians eat brie. It's only double Gloucester or nothing else, isn't it?
No, our Libs and me love Red Leicester because that's the best in a cheese toasty.
It's the worst cheese. It's
in
no
in
flavour
a
to
toasty, there's you get a good Red Leicester. There's flavour to it. It's almost nutty.
It's literally no flavour. It's like eating a block of plastic, like eating an eraser.
It's not. I'm not even gonna get into this with you. Come on.
So Connor says grits are pretty much like cream corn and taters are hash browns and whole fries. Yeah, so cream corn, grim. There. Sir, everything is in walking distance for you because you can't drive.
Yeah, true. Well, no, you say that. I would walk into town from Matson, but for example, I wouldn't walk from here to see you at home in York, Dan. That's not walking distance, is it?
Well, but it potentially is. You could physically do it, but you wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't.
And then the final one for now, and I've never agreed with Dan as much as I agree now. Red Leicester is orange bullshit. Yeah, and that's the problem with it as well. That's the big problem with it. They colour it red, and it makes it look like, oh, there's got to be some flavour in there. And then it's not. It's just melty. It's just a disappointment of a cheese. It's not bad per se. It's just very disappointing. Anyway, that's a very elongated chat caught up with.
That sounded like one of my school reports. Not bad per se, just very disappointing.
It's just that this Dinlaw has very disappointed me this year.
There we go. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us on this Monday evening. Magsy, where are we going first? What are we doing today? What are we talking about to start us off?
Well, first, I want to throw in a very quick
Pimple alert!
Oh, a teeny weeny.
So,
we
haven't had a pimple dick for quite a while.
No, what's going on?
So, this weekend, me and you have spoke about AEW Full Gear. I bowed out after, I think, the first match, but ended up watching it the day after. And bloody good card. What a great show.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
Really enjoyed it. But there was just one little thing about it, and it happens regarding AEW and Tony Khan very, very regularly. The show promoted for weeks beforehand, and then all the way through the show, a major announcement about a signing that will shock the world, that all AEW fans respect and love, and it ended up being fucking Will Ospreay. Now, that's not disparaging Will Ospreay's wrestling talents. The guy is a talented wrestler. A person, he's a bit of a dickhead. He's a wet wipe. But what gets me is that Tony Khan makes these announcements that this is next week we're going to have this huge announcement, and it's something not worthy of the hype. And I was looking on how many times Will Ospreay has wrestled for AEW. He's wrestled 11 times for AEW throughout the short time that company's been going. So harping up and that this is a blockbuster signing, and then it being someone who's wrestled with the company for more than 10 times is ridiculous. So I just feel it's apropos that Tony Khan is put in as a pimple dick for these ridiculous over-hyped announcements. But again, the show was bloody good.
I agree with you on the aspect of there's too many big announcements. There's an announcement that he's going to make an announcement and all this sort of nonsense. The Ospreay one, I actually see as a really big get for AEW.
No, absolutely. I am not taking away the fact that Ospreay is one of the best wrestlers in the world, and getting it and AEW signing him it's huge. But it's not the massive announcement that he made it out to be. and because the guy's wrestled there so many times already.
Yeah, no, I get that. But he's basically exclusive to them now, isn't he? That's the difference, because he was on an agreement with New Japan to
No,
work
the thing
there.
is not. First of all, his
Okay.
contract isn't up till January, and then he's the whole basis of his AEW contract is that he can still be in the UK and he can still wrestle for other companies. So
Oh, he's going to carry on living in the UK as well, isn't he?
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a 3-year deal. It can still live in the UK and it can still wrestle for New Japan anyway. So there's not much difference that he's drawing a regular check from AEW.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I suppose in a way it comes back down to the tribalism between the two big companies, because it's known that WWE wanted Ospreay. Apparently there was a contract offer on the table to him, and it was quite a substantial contract offer as well. So the fact that they've got him, it's almost like Tony Khan's just being like a no, look what we've done. Do you know, that kind of shit, isn't it? Really,
I get it. I get you've got to push for the viewers, and you want to you want people to come back next week and things like that. But he's fallen into old-fashioned WCW style tactics. And announcement after announcement after announcement. It means that the announcement isn't as special. Just like he has with Dynamite, where every other Dynamite is a special Dynamite. We've got Champions Night and Dynamite Slam and things like that. If everything is special, then nothing is special.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Without a doubt. Fair enough, mate. Fair enough. So are we got a few comments flying in. Are we going to dive into those before we get into our Hall of Fame segment?
Yes, let's do it. So I'm not going back onto the cheese thing, but Benny Mac, people who like Red Leicester may also be pimple dicks. Just saying, sir. Just saying.
Is that right? Is that right?
Dan Griffin, he says, I called them signing that knob Asprey. Yeah, I mean, it's something we all knew as well, because I think the name's been bandied around with like Dolph Ziggler, Ronda Rousey which both of those wouldn't work because Ziggler's got a no-compete contract, and AEW fans do not respect Ronda Rousey whatsoever. So it was only ever going to be Will Ospreay, but then it's a 2-week announcement just happening, which just didn't make sense to me. Dan said the irony of TK having a pay-per-view called Full Gear as well. Full of gear, more like. He does like the old Colombian party powder, doesn't he? King's Big Brother says he makes an announcement that he's making an announcement next week. He actually did do that.
Yeah, he's done that more than once.
Yeah, exactly. Connor says Tony Khan will harping up Will Ospreay is like Man United harping up a match versus Luton Town. Jesus Christ!
I don't quite understand the point.
Who's the Luton Town? Is Will Ospreay the Luton Town? Because he's definitely the Man United.
Yeah, I don't understand the Man United hyping a match to Luton either. I don't what we get at, Connor.
Benny says he doesn't really watch AEW, but it does seem that they have an announcement every week. See, even non-watchers can tell that Tony Khan announces too many things.
Oh yeah, totally.
King Pig Banner says it's the obvious choice for Ospreay. He gets the freedom to work elsewhere. Yeah, absolutely true. Ospreay in AEW is like Liverpool signing Mbappe, but he can still play for PSG when he wants to. You're not telling me though that if that deal was on the table, Liverpool still wouldn't have a sniff at it.
Yeah, I think so.
Connor says the whole AEW versus WWE is just a disappointing dick measuring contest. Yeah, I mean it's been that since time immemorial with wrestling companies.
It's just idiots online. That's all it comes down to. Absolute dicks online. I enjoy wrestling.
It's the travel.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot I love about AEW. There really is, but there's also a lot that frustrates me, or maybe I don't get, or maybe it's not even aimed at me, perhaps. And it's exactly the same for WWE. I don't like the whole sports entertainment presentation of professional wrestling. The main event of the AEW pay-per-view just gone was a bit too sports entertaining for me, with the ambulance and the whole almost like Stone Cold Steve Austin aspect of Endless.
It was a very overbooked. a very
Yeah.
overbooked
It's a
finish.
bit
Yeah.
too sports entertaining for me. But there's other stuff on the card I did love. Now I may watch Survivor Series this coming weekend. I imagine I'm going to enjoy the War Games match because it'll bell to bell. There's a lot of talent in that ring. But I also imagine there's going to be a lot of shit in there that I don't like. It's just the way wrestling is. People need to stop going, AEW this, AEW,
It's a
WWE.
buffet.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Wrestling is a buffet, something for everyone. Benny Mac says, I could be wrong as a person who doesn't really watch AEW, but it does seem like AEW has fallen into the old thing of, look what we have done, WWE. Yeah. But
a little bit.
Yeah. Again, it's the world of wrestling. It's always, look at us, which business-wise, it makes sense, but you can just do it too many times, I think. And we'll finish on this one. England have equalised Harry Kane.
Harry Kane's probably really pissed off as well because he's been sat on the bench watching chain wrestling on his iPad for up until now.
He's got some Google glasses and he's watching it in the corner of one eye.
Is that a thing?
Well, Google glasses, yeah.
What, with a screen in the glasses, really?
Yeah.
I've never heard of that.
Never heard of Google glasses?
No.
Well,
no, that's new to me.
Yeah, look them up.
I will do. Oh wow! And I wouldn't wear them. I mean, I struggle to write messages, so I'm not going to be trying to watch screens on.
Yeah, but you can talk into it. Has an earpiece in like one of the arms, and you can talk it into it, and it'll type your messages for you.
Oh my word! The more and more developments we have in AI and technology like that, and little earbuds we pop in our heads and things we put on our face, the closer we're coming to hold the Terminator situation that was foretold.
Skynet is on its way. Skynet is definitely.
Yeah, there we go. What are we doing next, Magsy?
Well, we decided that we'd carry on with the Hall of Fame. We've got a lot of entries in the Hall of Fame, and the Hall of Fame obviously debuted last week, so we thought we'd maybe put another couple of entries into there. But before we get to that,
the Hall of
I have had
Sting.
I had a second potential pimple dick, but this guy's actions don't warrant the comedy behind a pimple dick. He definitely needs to be a full-blown Hall of Fame. So earlier this week, it was reported in the news that Nick Hogan was arrested for DUI. Now, for those not in the know, Nick Hogan, 16 years ago, had a DUI, which ended up with his friend, John Graziano, being left in a vegetative state and having severe brain damage whilst he was 17. And 16 years later, in the same town, the fucking clown has done it again. Drinking whilst under the influence of alcohol. There's no way that Hogan can work his magic as he did 16 years ago to get his son off with the punishment that should be coming his way. But yeah, this guy didn't deserve the brevity of a pimple dick. He's a full-on member of the Hall of Fame. Nick Hogan, drink driving. It's one of the things that angers me the most because you put so many other people at risk when you get behind a 2-ton vehicle made out of metal and you're not in the right frame of mind to drive that vehicle. It's horrible. It should for me go down as potential it should go as potential murdering. You're literally going into a vehicle knowing that you're impaired. You could kill somebody at any time. So yeah, Nick Hogan, you are a knobhead.
Yeah, I'll second that. Anything associated with driving, to be honest, with regards to distracting you from the task at hand, you're effectively in control of a 2-ton killing machine. And yes, it's a mode of transport, but it's also an incredibly dangerous thing to be in charge of. So if you drink and drive, you're a piece of shit. If you touch your phone whilst you're driving. You're a piece of shit. I don't care if it's on speakerphone and you're leaning over just to flick it, or whatever, or you're changing your song on Spotify, and I don't give a shit. If you look, don't touch your phone. Simple as that. Because it's not you I care about. If you want to kill yourself, then that's fine. Go jump off a cliff or stick a fucking load of drugs in your arm. Do something to clear your own self off the fucking face of the earth. Because if you're that much of a piece of shit, then be gone with you. But if you're messing about on your phone, drink driving, taking drugs and anything like that, you're putting other people at risk. So fuck Nick Hogan and fuck anyone else who does that as well, Magsy.
Yeah, absolutely. So now let's lighten the subject a little bit. That still makes me chuckle.
I came back a bit quicker than I anticipated, which is strange because
you
I made
look
it.
like you've come through a hall of fame with the smoke and you coming out.
Yes, the Hall of Fame. Something in pro wrestling, whether it's a match, a wrestler themselves, a gimmick, anything at all that puts a smile on our face, Magsy, that we want to shine a light upon just to make people think, oh yeah, that's good. We liked that. So what have you got?
So this week, I went with an obvious choice for last week, and the choice I've got for this week would definitely be my second choice. And in wrestling, it's usually the second choice for a wrestler to make that step up to being the world champion. It's an honor, an accolade that is looked on for the WWF as potentially the best wrestler in the company, the person who carries that technical skill to say that the world champion may be the face, but the real person who we're showing our wrestling prowess off with is this champion. It's the WWF Intercontinental Heavyweight title. Anybody who is anybody in the wrestling business have held this title, from Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart to Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. People who are given this title. Well, come on. There's always got to be a few bad apples.
Yeah, of course.
But people who have held this title have usually gone on to be our world champion or the best wrestler at that time. Guys like Ricky Steamboat had this title. And for me specifically, this actual version of the belt, the red block logo, is the most beautiful title that's ever been made. And I love Randy Savage, but he did this title dirty when he tried to clean it with Brasso and took all the colouring off. This week's entrant for me is this title here, the WWF Intercontinental Heavyweight Championship.
Fantastic. And for those on the audio version, Magsy is sat there with that title belt draped over his shoulder right now, looking all the part, a workhorse champion. It's a beautiful thing, Magsy.
A donkey, maybe.
A Dinlo.
Whoa!
Okay, my Hall of Fame induction this week is again something that I bloody love in wrestling. I enjoyed last week talking about particular match. Well, you chose a card, didn't you, in SummerSlam 92? I chose a specific match in the Royal Rumble from 1992. I'm kind of going along the same vibe, really. And I was going to put in a whole event in a similar way that you did last week. I kept coming back to the Great American Bash 1989 because it is fantastic. There's so much great going on there. But every time I thought about it, my mind just kept wandering to something else. And it's an event I haven't actually seen in its entirety for a little while, but I still probably put it down as potentially the best pay-per-view from start to finish the WWE have ever done. If not, it's in the top 3. It's definitely in the conversation. I'd like to chuck in WrestleMania 17 because it is just fucking incredible. It was amazing at the time. It was amazing live on the night. And even now, what was it, 20? Well, it would have been 2001 that was, wasn't it? 22 years later, nearly 23 years later, it all holds up. And I'm just going to run very quickly through the card. First of all, a dark match that I didn't even know happened. X-Pac beat and Just Incredible beat, get this for a tag team, Magsy, Steve Blackman and Grandmaster Sexay. Was that a thing?
Wolf. I mean, Steve Blackman was part of Head Cheese. Don't forget that, so he could do the comedy stuff. I don't think it was a regular tag team.
No, that's a weird one for me. But anyway, we have Jericho and Regal opening up for the IC title. Good match, decent match. Yeah. We have a short 6-man with Taz and the APA defeating the Right to Censor. A bit of fun, that was decent. Then we have a bit more fun with that hardcore triple threat, the golf buggies and all that nonsense.
The show.
Yeah, and it's brilliant seeing guys as serious as Kane and Raven and as big as the Big Show and Kane as well, I suppose, taking part in a match like this. But then it gets turned up a level. Eddie Guerrero versus Test for the European Championship is a great contest, and I think often gets overlooked on pay-per-view. Kurt Angle versus Benoit. Those two guys just put on clinic after clinic every time they got in the ring together. So good. China and Ivory was what it was. It served a purpose. But then you got Shane McMahon versus Mr. McMahon in a street fight with Mick Foley as the ref and all the shenanigans. And that was very sports entertaining, but it was done really well. And it was far better than either of those guys had a right to make a match of any quality than the TLC match. Enough said about that one. And it just gets better and better. We have your little let me up, a little bit of fun. We have the gimmick battle royal, seeing all the old guys come back out. That was that's fun. It's brilliant. That puts a smile on my face. Undertaker Triple H often gets ignored because of other matches they've had. I think that people sort of go to what the Hell in the Cells, their later WrestleMania matches as well. But this one is an absolute banger if you go back and check it out. And then of course Austin, The Rock, the title, Austin's heel turn in Texas. I have to be
McMahon's hand.
The pre-match promos and video packages with
the sit-downs with Jim Ross. Oh my God.
What an event. What a run into that event. And to me, that kind of marks the end of the Attitude Era, WrestleMania 17. Mm-hmm. The vibe still hung around a bit, but what it was in its glory, WrestleMania 17 kind of end is because that's the same week they bought WCW. So a big end there. So watching it live as a fan, you don't kind of grasp just how hard that must have been to put together one of the best shows ever, whilst going through purchasing WCW and all that business shenanigans, and then that's the where you start then combining the two companies and the two rosters. How McMahon pulled that week off is beyond me. Now let's also remember as well that time frame, the February, March into April of that year. That was the run up to the start of the first season of the XFL as well.
Yeah, it was just juggling so many balls.
Yeah,
just
insane.
And the XFL had to fall by the wayside, thank God.
A little bit. But yes, WrestleMania 17 is my entrance into the Hall of Fame. Go back and watch the show. It's so good.
4 stunning picks in 2 weeks. That's mental.
Good stuff, mate. It's good stuff. Doing well. We're doing well. We do have our non-wrestling topic to get into, and we do have a lot to get into with the non-wrestling topic. So we're going to quickly scan through the chat before we start on that one, and then people can comment as we discuss our non-wrestling topic entries.
Yep, let's do it. So go back to Dan Griffin saying Nick Hogan is a full weight. Insert whichever 4-letter word you want to put there. King Pig Banner says drink driving is unnecessary. If you have money for booze, you have money for a cab. Exactly. King Pig Banner says same with masturbating.
Everything's in walking distance.
Well, yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Well, yes.
King Pig Banner says it's the same with masturbating and driving. Yeah, you may be the only one getting pleasure, but the people you're running over at the time are getting a lot of pain. If you wank and drive, you could come and go at the same time. Jesus, Daniel. Daniel, that's horrific. Connor says next year I'll be at the age, I'll be of age to drink in the States. I've seen my grandpa being alcoholic and all his life until recently, and my parents are heavy social drinkers, so I've told myself just to stay away. I mean, I've not got anything per se against drinking. I was once I was partial to a pint of 3. I kind of just got bored of doing it. I mean, I was by no means an alcoholic, but I just got bored of doing it. It's all, everything is good, I suppose, in moderation. You've just got to be able to kind of separate the drinking from kind of burying your problems. I think that's where the issue comes with things like alcoholism, that it's used as a crutch to mask your problems. So if you choose to not drink, I'm fully supportive of that. But yeah, you do what you need to do, Connor.
Each their own, my friend. Each their own.
Yep. Back onto some light-hearted stuff. Benny Mac says that chicken looks like Mags. Don't say that, because we all know King Pig's Bladders will Photoshop my face onto that chicken there.
They do say that owners and pets start to look alike, don't they?
Rude. I have not started growing a beak yet. Benny says, after last week's Hall of Fame, he would like to nominate the Royal Rumble match 2001. Yeah, great match.
It's a great Rumble, yeah. Great Rumble.
Yeah. And he also says, awesome RC belt. Thank you very much, sir. And then Dan kind of ruins it by saying, Max with that RC title looks like an Arn Anderson rip-off action figure from a petrol station. I mean, harsh, but I mean, fair, but harsh.
There's a lot of wrestlers that would be worse to be rip-off versions of, by the way.
Yeah, Arn Anderson is all right, isn't he?
Yeah, he's more than all right. Why'd you press the buttons like this? Why'd you do this?
I don't know. That's praise from me. He's all right.
Okay.
I mean, he's one of the Brainbusters.
Yeah, he's also one of the Horsemen. And just fucking move on. We ain't got time to start arguing about this shit again.
Wasn't he also was he not in the Minnesota Wrecking Crew as well?
Yeah, going back, yeah, with Ole Anderson, yeah.
That's his best years, wasn't it?
Twat.
Benny Mac says that hardcore wrestling match, WrestleMania 17, was good fun. Raven flying through the window.
Yes, I
the
forgot
golf
about that.
Cart chase is amazing.
Yeah, that's what my mind goes to straight away. The golf cart.
Is it not the match as well where Big Show pins him against a wall?
I don't know.
Is that? I know that happened. Big Show gets a pin. I'm gonna
no. They come off. Don't they come off the stage onto the floor for the pin, like an elbow drop or something?
Yeah, I'm gonna watch it again very, very soon. I haven't watched it in a while. It's a great show. Benny Mac also then says Edge from 20-foot ladder, classic JR commentary. Yeah, I mean, he makes half of the matches just with his the way he reacts. And then finally, Spam Buster Mags and a Glock to go pop, pop, pop. Don't forget
that. There we go. Thank you, everyone, for your comments. And Benny, it's awesome to see you joining us this evening as well. Fantastic stuff.
Much appreciated, sir.
It is indeed. Magsy, shall we get on with our non-wrestling topic? Because we got loads.
We have. Let's do it.
NWT time. Oh! No wrestling talk here. It's the non-wrestling topic.
Lovely.
Nice. Lovely. Nice.
Oh, lovely.
Lovely.
Puff of smoke again for Sar.
There we go. See, I've cut right back on it as well, mate. I've been really good. I don't vape at work. You know, I tend to vape if I'm having a beer, but I mean, some days I don't touch it at all. So there we go. It's very low amount of nicotine in there as well.
Aren't they getting banned very soon as well?
Some of them are, yeah. I don't know if this particular type is, because it's like, you know, the juices which they can control easier rather than the actual pre-made ones. But anyway, We need to thank CWF legend Total Stevo for the inspiration behind this week's non-wrestling topic. We do have a little list of ideas and so on that if I'm out and about and I see something that makes me think of an idea, I'll chuck it in my notes on my phone and I'll message Magsy with a couple of ideas to see which one he thinks is best and so on. But this popped up from Stevo, so anything on that list got ignored because I thought this is great, and I sent it across to you, and you said just as well, Magsy, didn't you? This is a great idea.
So if you lot have got ideas for an arrested topic, definitely shoot Sarah a message because I won't reply or read because I'm ignorant.
Stevo basically suggested as a non-wrestling topic films that ended terribly. It doesn't justify how good the film was. The finish, the climax of the movie was awful or a miss or not done very well. So, as always, we kind of tinker with these ideas a little bit. We added TV shows to that as well. But also, Magsy, we added the idea of people, I suppose, fantasy booking in a way, the TV show or the movie, and saying, if you put forward something that ended badly in your opinion or you weren't happy with or whatever, tell us how you would change the ending to these TV shows or these movies to improve them. And I can safely say that out of all the replies we got, absolutely fucking no one did that.
Yeah.
So
that was too much work. The CWF like to slag something off and then leave it at that. They don't want improvement. They just want to complain, which is brilliant.
Yeah,
it makes our job easier.
So, okie doke, I will read them out in the order they came into us. Look at his face. Oh, look at his little face. We begin with Connor Knows Soccer at Connor Knows Footy on Twitter. Dan Griffin in the chat actually saying, didn't see that bit. The tweet was too long. There's only so many characters in a tweet, man. Do you get bored halfway through? Shows an attention span issue, I think, maybe, but there we go. Connor says, The Sopranos ending 6 seasons of one of the best TV dramas of all time, and it ended with Tony and his wife in a restaurant. Oh, by the way, I suppose I should shout out spoiler alert to people. There's going to be spoilers. We're talking about the end of films and the end of TV shows.
All of it's going to spoil.
Yeah, it's going to wreck everything for anyone. So if you don't know the endings of what we're about to talk about, skip forward 30 seconds or just, whatever. It is what it is. We've shouted spoiler alert. We've covered our asses. It's on you. The Sopranos ending 6 seasons of one of the best TV dramas of all time, Connor says, and it ended with Tony and his wife in a restaurant, and then it just fades to black and the series ends, and there are several fan theories about who killed Tony Soprano, but nothing conclusive. Now, Magsy, did you watch The Sopranos?
Yeah, I remember this ending. I actually thought it was quite clever. It leaves it open for the interpretation of the viewer. Because it was expecting a hitman, and he was kind of nervous in the diner, but the family all ended up coming together, and he was actually having a really nice time. And then I think a guy walks into the diner, and then it cuts to black, and you don't know if that guy's been sent as a hitman. I thought it was really clever.
Yeah, okay.
It got people talking. People still talk about it now, so.
Yeah,
I actually don't mind that ending.
See, I watched The Sopranos, got massively into it, but much later than when it actually aired, which is how I tend to consume most of my television if I get into programs. Watch it on demand, I can watch as and when. I watched all of The Sopranos, but yet, for some reason, still to this day, I've not seen the last episode.
What? How can you live with yourself?
It literally got to the point where I'd watch as much as I could one day. I don't know if we were going out or maybe we were going on holiday or whatever, but I finished the episode before the last episode and just never picked it back up again. And now I think to myself, if I put it on, it's been so long since I've seen it, I'm probably not going to understand what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, you won't understand the context. Yeah.
So it's like, I'm kind of in a bit of a conundrum what to do with that. And I'm not going to go back and watch it all again. Or maybe I will one day. I don't know. We'll see. Connor also says here, the prison drama Oz, once again, one of the all-time greatest dramas to ever grace TV. The series ended in 2003 when there was a gas attack on the prison, which housed the
experiment in which the show was set in.
Oh, right. Okay.
And the prisoners and staff were just transported to another prison.
Right, okay.
I've never seen that.
No.
And I think from looking at some of the replies we've had, there's a lot of them I actually haven't seen, which I'm quite surprised at.
So they're gonna get ruined for you now, then?
I'm probably not going to ever watch them. So no.
Fair enough.
They've probably done me a favour, so I don't have to watch them.
Yeah, maybe. It's saving you hours and hours of time. I'm going to look up Oz because he says here about it being an experiment and so on. So I'm quite intrigued as to what that is. So I'll have to have a little look and maybe we can report back next week, potentially. Not saying I'm going to watch it, but find out what it is. Connor also says, last but not least, the HBO original horror anthology series Tales from the Crypt, one of the greatest horror TV shows of all time, lasted 6 seasons from 1989 to 1994. The last season was very lackluster, bad stories and writing all around, with a final episode that was animated. Oh, wow. Okay.
Wow. Again, it's not a show. I know of the show. It's not one that I remember watching too many of. It's the one with the animatronic Crypt Keeper as the host. Yeah.
Yeah. Who Christian Cage said looks like Ric Flair now.
He's not wrong, is he?
No, he's not. Our Photoshop wizard himself at Pigs Bladders on Twitter. He says, and this is an obvious one for me because I've seen this and I was massively disappointed. Lost. What the flying fuck was all that about? He says.
Yeah.
I had to go to a chat GPT to try and explain the ending. So we've got that here and people can see it on the screen if you're watching along live with us or on a replay as well. And it says here, the final scene of the show takes place in a church where the characters are reunited and come to the realization that they are all dead. However, they are not dead in the sense that they were dead the whole time on the island. Rather, the events of the show actually happened and the characters are now in a sort of afterlife created by themselves to find each other. What the fuck?
Yeah. And that's probably the most sensible explanation that's available. Lost was always one of those shows. I felt it was always one of those shows that it grew so big, so quickly, and the writers just didn't know where they were going with the show, and they kept getting extended for another season. It felt like maybe this was a 2, maybe 3 season long show.
Yeah, spot on.
But they had to extend it. What they go like 8 seasons altogether. So it just got more and more ridiculous and just didn't end up making sense.
Yeah,
it was overbooked.
What was that smoke monster all about? What was that?
I have no idea. No idea.
Yeah.
And the hatch. And then the others that rocked up. Yeah.
All a bit weird, wasn't it?
It was.
Pigs Bladders continues. Game of Thrones. I really enjoyed the show overall, but the last episode was terrible. They tried to tie up all the loose ends to all the unfinished stories, but it came across as rushed and badly written. Such a letdown to a great show. I have not seen any of Game of Thrones whatsoever, so I've got no idea. But I know, similar to Lost, before I started watching Lost with Sharon, we knew the ending was shite.
Yeah.
But we were just looking for something to watch together. Same as Game of Thrones. We know that people were pissed off with the ending, even though I've never seen it.
Yeah, I mean, I was late to the party with Game of Thrones. Me and the wife ended up watching the first 7 series just before the 8th one came out, and they're really good. You can tell the problem comes when they get ahead of the source material.
Right,
George,
books, weren't they?
Yeah, George R.R. Martin. He's notorious for taking his time writing the books. I don't think he's even finished the follow-up to the last book now, some years on. So they started using creative license, and you could tell they strayed from Martin's his original vision, I suppose. It was. They had so many loose ends to tie up that to get it done in that one season was just never going to happen. Yeah. So
Dan Griffin.
Yeah.
Dan Griffin in the chat has just put a brilliant comment here that I think works for how we were trying to explain it, Magsy.
Yeah, pretty much. They had so much to do in that last season, and he's right. He's put the final season of Game of Thrones was like a marathon runner trying to do the last 100 meters, like Usain Bolt, and tripping up before the finish line. Jesus Christ.
Scott Robertson at Scott R Wrestling on Twitter. He says, "How I Met Your Mother ending. How I Met Your Mother ending was dog turd. Also, the entire season 9 of Scrubs should have ended on 8. Yeah, the last season of Scrubs was bollocks.
2 shows I have never ever watched. I know the How I Met Your Mother ending is that your mum's actually dead, and I'm shagging a mate or something like that, which a lot of people got pissed off about. So yeah, that makes sense that the whole of the show was reminiscing about a dead mum. Bit weird.
Yeah, I have watched it. It is funny in places, but again, it's very similar. It's almost like Big Bang Theory, but it is a bit funnier. See, Big Bang Theory, I don't think is very funny at all.
No,
but
I can't stand the program.
Yeah, but that kind of I don't want to say it's difficult to word in terms of being serious, but Friends to me is a little bit more of a more down to earth sitcom, a bit more realistic, even though it's kind of daft and extreme and non-serious and so on. But How I Met Your Mother is leaning more towards the Big Bang way of doing sitcoms, but there are funny moments in it. But yeah, the whole point, the girl he ends up with is one of the main characters from the very first episode onwards. Everyone wants them to end up together all the way through. They are together on and off, like Ross and Rachel in Friends. And then all of a sudden it's, oh yeah, your mum's dead, but I'm going to go get with her anyway. And it's like, just fucking make her the mum, you bed ends.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
You know? Oh dear. But yeah, thank you, Scott. Brilliant shouts. Oh, a bit more from Pig Spatters, actually. He says,
we did. I thought you'd missed them out.
I said it's in the order they come in to me, mate. So
that is true.
Yeah, see. Resident Evil, the TV show. Based
Never
on the
watched
games. No, nor me. I never played the game. Based on the games.
Wow.
Well, I'm not a gamer, am I? So I've got my one little management game that I play, and that's that.
Yeah, that's very, very true.
Was commissioned by Netflix. It wasn't bad. First season was really getting interesting, setting up for season 2. 1 month after dropping on the platform, they announced they weren't taking up the option for the next season. The bastards.
Yeah, and that is an absolute bugbear with me. There were a few nominations for TV shows that I had that didn't necessarily have bad endings, but it was just they got cancelled before you got an ending, which just roused me up. There's a program called Alcatraz about
I was going to say
about the prison. Sam Neill is a detective and former prisoners of Alcatraz who are dead keep coming back to life and committing the similar crimes that they did that got them in Alcatraz in the first place. And at the end of the season, there's a reveal of a board of the United States, and it's a map that's showing where all these other prisoners from Alcatraz have appeared. And then that's it. You don't get a second season, and it's fucking well aggravating. They did the same thing with Hannibal. Hannibal, I thought, was a brilliant take on the movies with Hannibal being a consultant detective. Cancelled that after a couple of seasons. We never got a definitive ending. But the one that pisses me off the most, and it's because I got so invested in the show, was a TV program called Revolution. So that was about a kind of apocalyptic world where the whole electricity network has been destroyed, and basically people would have to go back to the time before electricity, and the United States splits into different factions. And this whole show was based about how they could get this electricity back. And it got really interesting because, like I said, there were these factions and these territories that were getting access to why the electricity got turned off and how it can get repowered, and making contact with the people who had made these decisions. And then it got cancelled after 2 seasons, and I was so invested in that show, and we never got a satisfactory ending, and it annoys me to this day. Annoys me.
It is shite, isn't it? I mean, I might as well give you one of mine now before we reach the end, since we're discussing it. A TV show called Travelers. I loved this show. Travelers was fantastic, and it was basically, it starred the guy who played Will in Will and Grace, and
Okay.
it's kind of a time travel-y kind of thing where people are about to die, and literally the second they die, these travelers have their kind of soul or their aura sent back to take over the body of this person. So they are now inhabiting the body of this person who in the original history is supposed to die. And they're doing it because something happens in present day that affects their future. So they're trying to save themselves in the future and they send whole teams back. There's 5 or 6 in a team.
Okay.
And it's absolutely fascinating. Absolutely brilliant show. We got 2 seasons. And then they announced it was, thankfully, it's not as bad as your Alcatraz show or anything like that. Thankfully, when they announced it wasn't going to be renewed again, there was time to rewrite the last episode. But it just meant we got a super accelerated, butchered version of the end of the story. But everything was tied up, everything was finished, and a couple of the characters even got quite nice endings, quite, oh, that's good for them sort of aspect to it. But it didn't feel like, it felt like it could have gone more. There was more to give from that show. So that was a real shame for me, that one. But
yeah, and to just continue going off on a tangent, you mentioned then about time travel, and I know you're a big fan of time travel and the whole kind of science behind it. Me and the missus have just started watching a show on Netflix called Bodies.
Yes. Oh my God, that's amazing.
It stars Stephen Graham, who I think is maybe one of the best actors that England has ever produced. I absolutely love that guy. We're into episode 4, and I can't remember a show that has fucked with my head as much as this show. The way it tangles 3 different timelines so far. 3 different bodies have been found in 3 different timelines, but it's the same fucking body. Yep. It's the same person. I can't wait to see how they wrap this up, because it looks impossible from where we are now on episode 4. It looks impossible to tie this together. So I'm excited to see that. So people, go and watch Bodies on Netflix. It's brilliant.
Yes. I'm not going to say anything because I've seen it. I've finished it. I don't want to give anything away. All I will say is I fucking loved it, Magsy. It was amazing.
I knew you would. As soon as I started watching it, and you, even the way it's filmed though, and the way it's presented, where you get the split screens and the timelines like happening at the same time, and the people almost looking like they're looking at each other and reacting to each other. I love it. And then the little clues you get about what the episodes contains with the letterboards that flip over.
Yeah.
We noticed like the chocolate bar. And then there's the drone letter D, which is part of a signature and things like that. It's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah. The only other thing I will say, and again, it's no spoilers at all, but if you're up to episode 4 and it's already making your fucking head go, what the hell? This is, holy shit, what's happening? Trust me, mate, it's just going to get even fucking better than that. It just keeps going. It's like it's on an arc at the moment, and it just goes up and up and up. It's going to go fucking mental. But I'll leave it there in case I ruin anything for you. Okay. Danny at Scottish Juggalo on Twitter. Great to hear off you, my friend. I hope you are well. I know there's been a few things going on, shall we say, behind the scenes, a few details that you've shared with me, which I'm not going to put forward now, obviously, of course not. It's nobody else's business. But just know we love you. Hope you're okay. And can't wait for you to return so we can get back to Nitro Nights, because I know people are missing that show. But most importantly, I'm missing talking to my mate every week. So I hope you're back soon, Danny. We love you a bits. Danny says, Inspector Morse. I didn't expect to see this show named in something like this.
Bad Danny as well, of all people.
Yeah. It was so disappointed. Was so disappointed. As amazing as some of the episodes were, the ending was totally naff. I gotta go with the bill too. No legends brought back for the final episode. It should have ended with Jim and June at the very least having a cameo. Okay. See, Morse, I don't. I've seen the random episodes here and there. I've never been like an
same.
avid watcher of it, so I wouldn't know. But I assume that with Morse, it was case of the week kind of format.
Yeah, I would have thought that maybe a little kind of a storyline fed through it, but not the main part of the show. The main part of the show is like I said, the case of the week.
Yeah. Okay, interesting. Rob at UTT Rob on Twitter. He says, at the cinema watching Avengers Endgame, and during the final showdown, the two sides are facing off. Beth leans over, Beth's his better half, leans over and whispers in my ear, just wait till you hear the noise of the TARDIS. Given we never got Capaldi saving the day, the rest of the film was a massive letdown.
I could just imagine Rob as well, sitting there waiting for the sound of the TARDIS. And then when it ends and the mid-credit scene ends and things like that, he's just been massively let down. I bet he's reviewed it and give it 2 thumbs down on Rotten Tomatoes. No TARDIS.
Yeah, well, his comment won't just read no TARDIS. It'll say no TARDIS, then in brackets. And if you want 15% off your ales, and then he gives us fucking code, I expect, doesn't he?
Tartarus.
Dan at Dan Griffin 21 on Twitter. He says the end of The Village was fucking garbage. Creepy and suspenseful throughout. Then a massive wet fire at the end, revealing the monsters were people in costumes all along. Scooby-Doo bullshit.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I mean, this was in that all kind of era where M. Night Shyamalan was doing these twist endings for the sake of twist endings. He'd kind of got the plaudits for The Sixth Sense, and then screwed the pooch a little bit with Signs. I think that Signs was the follow-up, the one where aliens were invading Earth, a planet that is 60% water, and they're definitely allergic to water, which absolutely makes no sense. But The Village, I really, really enjoyed The Village until we get the ending, and the ending is. I'm assuming you haven't seen The Village.
No, I have not. No.
So basically, the premise of the story is it's this. It feels like it's set in the mid 1800s, where it's a village in the middle of these woods, and they make their own food. They have their own church. It's kind of like a very closed off community. And then at the end, it turns out that it's not actually in the 1800s. It's actually in present day, and the adults of these families had problems in their lives and decided, rather than deal with them, we will form our own community in the middle of these woods. And the way they kept the people from going out and exploring and finding out that they weren't in the 1800s or whatever is they had this guy roaming around the outside of the woods in a monster costume, a very clearly obvious that it was not a real monster, and takes a
TV series, or a film.
No, this was a film. This sounds
like I've seen it, Magsy. This rings a bell.
Yeah, and it takes a blind girl, basically leaving she gets sent off for some medicine, some vital medicine, and she finds out that it's actually real life.
Yes, I've seen that. I remember
ridiculous.
that now.
It's ridiculous.
Dan also says Lucy had a bollocks ending.
Oh my god!
Scarlett Johansson spends an hour and a half getting mad sci-fi powers, then just decides to fuck off into space time continuum with no real resolution. Utter bollocks.
Yeah, it basically the theory behind that film is that people only use 10% of their brains, and she is able to use 100%. And at the end, she turns into a fucking flash drive, and then says, "I am everywhere." It's ridiculous. Ridiculous film. Ridiculous it is.
Here we are. Dan says, I love Signs, but the end is kind of bollocks, where it turns out the aliens are just definitely allergic to water.
So they invade a planet. They invade a planet made of water.
Yeah, dickheads. Same for the 2005 War of the Worlds when the giant aliens get a cold and instantly crumble.
Yeah, and another thing with that version as well is the aliens destroy the cities, but Tom Cruise and his family all survive these different perilous problems, and they're able to just conveniently find each other as well. It's just, yeah, it's absolute Hollywood bullshit.
Yeah. This is basically turned into, like you said, Magsy, it's just turned into us slagging shit off now, hasn't it, for the last half an hour? We're good at this, though. We're good at this. We have a bit more from King Pig's Bladders himself, and he says, The Wizard of Oz. I won't go into too much detail, as everyone must have seen it, but it was all a bad dream. And then there's a wonderful image of us all involved in The Wizard of Oz.
Bastard.
Yeah,
Bastard.
It's an interesting look, isn't it? It's an interesting look.
It is.
I have somebody here coming to the... it's my wonderful wife dropping off a cup of tea. Did you hear
no
that
Big Bob.
commotion? No Big Bob still. No Big Bob. Did you hear that commotion outside of all the animals yelling and screaming out the front?
Oh, was that out the front?
Yes.
I thought it was at the back.
No, it's out the front. I don't know if it's Lemmy fighting or something.
No,
but...
all cats were in.
Okay, no worries. All right. Thank
What
you,
an
my love.
interlude to the show.
Yeah. Did you not see me scoot off to the one side?
I did.
Did you not hear any noise?
Not really. I don't think it translated
Why?
through your microphone.
There was like, when like the dinosaurs all screech and yell on Jurassic Park. It sounded like that out the front of my house just then. So... But yes, I've got my cup of tea now. That's lovely. Thank you, Sharon. Glenn Abbott at GA WrestleNut on Twitter. Oh my word, this is a brilliant shout. Didn't even think of this. The Mentalist. It went
Never
on.
watched it.
Oh, it's so good, Magsy. It is so good. It went on at 4 series too long. Should have ended with the uncovering of Red John, and they could have really done that in 4 series. Yes, 100%. 100%. He is a TV psychic, but he's not really psychic. He's just able to, read body, but like all psychics are, they can read body behavior and all that sort of stuff. And there's a serial killer called Red John on the loose, and Red John is killing fucking loads of people, as serial killers tend to do. It is their preference. And he goes on a TV show, and like a chat show, like I suppose Wogan or something like that. And the host kind of says to him, have you got a message for Red John? I imagine you can reach out to him via psychic abilities and all this sort of stuff. And he's like a proper carny bullshitter, and he plays into it, and he's like, oh, I know you want to hand yourself in and all this sort of stuff. And then he gets home, and Red John's been to his house, killed his wife and kid as payback.
Brilliant.
Right? So that's the first 10 minutes of the show, basically. Okay. And then the next 3 or 4 seasons are him helping a police department, almost like the FBI.
John.
Well, he wants to find Red John because of what's happened. But the deal is, because he's so good at reading people and manipulating situations and so on, he has to help them with all of their cases, because the Red John stuff might only pop up 3 or 4 times a season. Especially coming to the end of the season. But then you also get the case of the week in between that he has to help them with. And it's absolutely fucking brilliant. And towards the end, when you have certain reoccurring characters, and towards the end, it's literally a whodunit, because there's multiple people who could be Red John, and it's a proper head scratcher, and it's fucking brilliant. And it's funny in places. The main character of the guy who plays the Mentalist is superb. Well worth watching, Magsy. The ending is a bit wank, but it's still well worth it. Really good stuff.
Sounds like something I would have enjoyed if I'd have watched it.
There you go. It's available all over the place, mate. You can get it for nothing. And I think finally we have the inspiration behind this topic. Or have I missed any?
Yeah, you've missed Bang Bang Andy.
Oh, Andy, I'm so sorry.
It says True Detective season 1, 9 out of 10 all the way through until the last episode. Another program I've never seen. True Detective.
No, not me. But everyone says it's really good.
Well, obviously not the last episode, according to
No.
Mr. Bang Bang.
Yeah, there we go. But yes, on to Steve-O. He says, well, obviously, as mentioned the other day, The Jackal. One of those films where the bad guy is perfect in every way, but is brought down by Richard Gere in the most basic way, in which why couldn't no one else do it then? It just angers me so much. That is true, and stuff like that happens, isn't it?
Yeah. It is.
It is, yeah. Die Hard 3. Simon Gruber actually gets away with it, but the last 10 minutes, John McClane looks at a bottle of painkillers and realizes where the Germans are based on the location written on it and goes catching him. Again, Simon is an amazing bad guy, but is caught like that. Yeah, it is a little bit of a...
Films like that contain a MacGuffin, it just annoys the fuck out of me. Like,
yeah.
You don't know what a MacGuffin is, do you?
No.
So a MacGuffin is something inserted pretty late into a film that basically answers the film. Like there, he looks at a bottle of painkillers and realizes they're there. But what if then painkillers weren't there? That film would have ended basically as a bag of shit.
Yes.
So it's something that's been inserted that wouldn't have ordinarily been there.
Yeah. No, I get you. Steve-O continues. Lost has been mentioned a million times. Sorry, I've got to say, I feel like I've got a lisp today. Do I sound a bit lispy?
I mean, when you're doing an impression of someone with a lisp, which is, I think, very inappropriate. But no, I've not noticed it.
No, I feel a bit lispy. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I don't know. Anyway,
Maybe
Lost has been mentioned. What? Sorry?
A beard trim.
I do. I said to Sharon earlier on, I need a beard trim. It's getting a bit. It's all like in my mouth and shit. It's getting too wild, mate. I can grab a whole fistful of it now. Look at that.
I used to be able to do that, and now I just keep mine kind of snowy.
Yeah, but I got too many chins. I have to hide behind it. Lost has been mentioned a million times, says Steve-O. Just appalling. I was annoyed at the Detectorists' Christmas special from last year. Lost all of its heart and soul from the series and just seemed forced. Didn't really like it.
So Steve-O's mentioned the Detectorists before, and at the time I'd never seen it. And then it came up as a kind of like a recommended on our player. And I thought, do you know what? I'll give it a try. And I bloody loved the Detectorists. What a great show that is. What an absolutely great show. And you know what? The ending was forced. I get it. It's a happy ending for the sake of it. But I think it's a great way to finish up. Yeah, I loved it. So you're wrong there, Steve-O. Unfortunately, that ending was great.
See, I watched it literally based on Steve-O's recommendation. And I loved it. Same as you. I thought it was really good. Really, really enjoyed it.
I love all the Simon and Garfunkel references.
Oh yeah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. I can't remember the ending though.
The ending is it's where the land has been sold off in it, and then they're looking for like this gold. They find a gold coin, and then just as they're giving up, loads of gold coins trickle from the tree.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I thought it was bloody brilliant.
Okay, yeah. Steve-O continues. So I'm paranoid now. I'm trying really, really hard not to go.
And it's making you do it.
Yeah, I've ever banged my mouth at work, maybe, or something. It's you know. Steve-O says, Motherland season 1 was brilliant. Season 2 just meh. Season 3 picks up again and ends with a very morbid Christmas edition finale where I'm thinking, is that it?
I remember watching maybe 1 or 2 episodes of it and just thinking, this is not for me. So I have no real comment on it, Steve-O. But I mean, 99% of the time I agree with you. So I'm sure you're right.
Yeah. And he also continues here. Oh yeah, Derek. Excellent first series, but falls off a cliff in series 3 and the dreadful Christmas edition. To put in perspective, I nearly cried at moments in the first series, but sadly in season 2 and the Christmas edition, it's typical Gervais deciding to overdo the comedy side of things. I liked Derek, but I kind of, it's been so long since I watched it, but I do remember watching season 2 and thinking to myself, I'm only watching this because I enjoyed it before, rather than, hoping it would like kick off again or something, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it absolutely makes sense. the thing with Ricky Gervais stuff is he seems to be able to nail 2 series pretty well, but once he
Right.
starts hitting that third one, it's almost like he runs out of ideas. He's done the same with
Okay.
with Afterlife. Afterlife, I
Mhm.
think, is a brilliant series, but it's 1 season too many. It should have ended with
Right.
season 2, and same with Derek. You can only milk that kind of that affection for a character like Derek for so long before
Mhm.
you're retreading old ground, and as Steve says, you're basically overdoing the comedy just to stretch out the series.
Yeah, fair enough, mate. Steve continues. A lot of stories in the bill end flat. Literally today, just finished an episode where a main character is killed off. But all that happens is the bad guys are chased, end up flipping their car, and it explodes. And it's just, oh, is that it? Well, I suppose if the car's exploded, they're brain bread, aren't they?
I mean, who doesn't like a car flipping and an explosion? My concern will be in how is so much crime like this in the area of Sun Hill? That police
Yeah.
force maybe need investigating.
Yeah, there's a lot going on behind the scenes, I think, isn't there?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Not enough time spent on the beat with these coppers.
At Yalmorright on Twitter, they say the 94-95 Division 1 playoffs. Bolton beat Wolves over 2 legs. John McGinley should have got sent off for assaulting David Kelly, but instead went on to score the winner. Football is scripted, isn't it? He says.
And I bet that still kills him. That absolutely still kills him.
Yes. Chris Bellis, at Real Chris Bellis on Twitter, he says, Twin Peaks, for me, is an excellent series. The original run, anyway, with a flat, baffling ending. Don't get me wrong, I know that's the point, but for all the questions I had, one of them wasn't, can this show return as even more of a convoluted, confusing mess 20 years later?
Yeah, that's a show that I never, ever got into, Twin Peaks. Didn't watch the original, wasn't particularly interested in the remake. All I know is from what I've read is that it's absolutely batshit.
Yeah, I'm the same, mate. I'm the same. That's all I've got, mate, unless I've missed anybody out.
No, I think you got pretty much all of them. Yep.
Yeah, okay. And we've covered a lot of my thoughts and your thoughts already. Do you have any more to add?
Yeah, I mean, there's a few movies that really fucking piss me off. We've mentioned Lucy, that one annoys me. There's a film called Remember Me. It's a Robert Pattinson kind of like almost chick flick. And then the ending is that he dies at the World Trade Center. So for like 95 minutes, this film mentions nothing about the World Trade Center whatsoever. It's like almost like a love story. And then he dies at the fucking World Trade Center, which is ridiculous. Obviously, in 9/11, that one absolutely pissed me off. I Am Legend, that's another one. Just the ending of that, where this guy is the only person who has this particular blood that's immune to turning into a zombie. Yeah, stuff like that is it's just it's not realistic, is it? At all. Then there's Man of Steel. I don't know if you remember that. It's the Zack Snyder version of Superman. And Superman is known for being very virtuous. He's one of his big caveats is that he does not kill people. And at the end of that, he kills General Zod, which just totally goes against everything about the whole film, about the whole character, I suppose. But one of the worst ones, and it's another one what really pisses me off because it's something that I really got into at the time. There's a film called Identity.
Oh,
I think it's John Cusack, and the kind of premise of the story is that this group of people have all got trapped by bad weather at this motel. And John Cusack is playing this detective who's transporting this serial killer to court. And all these people start dying one by one in ridiculous ways. But eventually, Cusack is able to get this prisoner after the weather's calmed down back on the bus and transported away. And then it turns out that none of those people were actually real, and they're all different people in this guy's split person, in this murderous split personality. So you spend 100 minutes essentially watching nobody die because they're all in the head of someone with a split personality. It fucking makes no sense.
See, I like that. I love that film. I thought that was great.
No, yeah, but it's ridiculous. You think you're getting a kind of whodunit murder mystery, and then it turns out, none of that bullshit you just watched is real. It was just me talking to myself in my brain because I'm fucking nuts.
No, because the character is getting bumped off because he's speaking to like the psychiatrist as well, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And it's parts of his split personality that is getting discarded as they're whittling down to try and speak to the actual crazy person.
I mean, I'm aware of the story. It's just you've seen all the people die, and you think it's a murder mystery, and it's not.
I liked it. It's got Dr. Cox from Scrubs in it as well.
I wouldn't know. I didn't watch
Yeah.
Scrubs.
He was good in Scrubs. Let's dive on through the chat, Magsy, because the one I really want to bring up now, I've already spoke about Lost and a few others and that. The one I want to bring up now, I know somebody has mentioned in the chat, so we'll comment on it when it pops up there.
Okay, well, there's a lot to go back to. So Dan says, was Kevin Nash in Oz? And John, hello, John. Thanks for joining. He says he was Oz. That is very, very true. He was. Connor says ABC for Lost pretty much forced the writer's hand in extending the show because it kept bringing him in. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was the problem. I bet Lost would have been a great 3 to 4 season show. But it is what it is.
Yeah.
We've covered this one with Dan
right.
Griffiths saying the Game of Thrones was like a marathon runner trying to do the last 100 minutes like Usain Bolt and tripping up. Brilliant analogy. I absolutely love that. Connor says, if you and Sharon start watching Game of Thrones, make sure it's just you, the two of you in house for a night, because some of the content. Oh yes, there is some.
Oh yeah, I'm aware.
There's a lot of sexy time in that show. Incestual sexy time, the best kind.
Oh my god.
Connor says it's all about ratings and commercial money when it comes to TV shows and whether they get extended or not. Yep, absolutely true. Dan Griffin says Hannibal was a great series. Still living in vain hope of season 4. That fucking cliff, yeah. Hannibal was, even going back to watch it now, it's still a great show. Just give up after season 2 because season 3 will annoy you. Connor says he wants to give a shout out to the original Quantum Leap. Cheap plug there, sir. Please use it. When Sam got stuck in the leap and it just ended, hate that, but fell in love with the reboot.
This is what I wanted to bring up.
SARS rant incoming.
Not really a rant, but it was a shame that it ended the way it did. But the writing was on the wall anyway. The 5th season of Quantum Leap. What was great about Quantum Leap was the whole thing about the show was he was putting right what once went wrong. But it was the everyman. It was people that weren't famous, people that were, things would happen in their lives and they'd lose a loved one or something, but whatever, And that was fantastic because it could have been you or me that he was helping, whatever. Season 5, the ratings were on, dropping dramatically, and we got silly shit like he leapt into Elvis, he leapt into Lee Harvey Oswald, he was Marilyn Manson's driver or body, not Marilyn Manson, sorry, that's complete. He was with Marilyn Manson in the future. No, Marilyn Monroe, sorry, her driver or bodyguard or something like that. And it just got a bit silly with the leaps into famous people. Then the ending, the last episode of season 5 is fucking fantastic. Really clever if you've watched the previous episodes and you get what's going on with reoccurring characters coming back and all this sort of stuff. And then he's leapt into himself and he gets questions about what he wants to do, and he meets the person who's supposedly forcing him to leap, and he can go wherever he wants, but he chooses not to go home. He chooses to go and help his friend, which he didn't do in season 3, I think it was. And then it just fades to black and says Dr. Sam Beckett never returned home. And when you watch it, it's brilliant television, and it's a really sad ending to a show. But then you think, okay, an hour or two after it, you think, well, that was bollocks actually, because he did so much good for so many people. Why the
He
fuck couldn't
deserved to
Sam
go
go
home.
home? Exactly. Exactly. And the one theory is that he's actually making himself leap because he doesn't want to stop and all this sort of shit. But hopefully in the relaunch that they're doing present day, they're in their second season now. There's hints that Sam might get brought home because it doesn't have him in it at the moment. And so we'll see. But yeah, it is a shame. It is a shame how that show ended. But they canned it. They thought they were getting a 6th season. They actually filmed a scene to finish that season.
Where Sam got home.
Well, hints towards what was going to happen in the next season towards that. And then they were told, yeah, that's not happening. So they had to just change it. So they chucked up Dr. Sam Beckett, never returned home, and spelled his fucking name wrong.
After 5 seasons, well, they didn't even know his name. That reminds me of another one that I can easily bring up. Do you remember a kids' cartoon program called Dungeons and Dragons?
Yes, we've had this conversation, I think, because I loved that show.
It was so good. It was it was funny. It was the artwork on it was absolutely superb. But basically, these group of little kids get on this roller coaster, which ends up transporting them back into basically the world of Dungeons and Dragons, and they all take on these kind of almost superhero characters. Like there's an archer, and there's a kid who's like almost like a mini Viking wizard, things like that. And that show never got an ending. The kids never ended up getting home. And it grinds me because they had so many episodes. There's literally hundreds of episodes of the show, and they got cancelled before they could write the script for the last show. I think the producer ended up doing a storyboard of what would have happened when they got home. But yeah, they never got home, which is just annoying, especially if you watch the show like all the way through. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. And then you get Lost, that has effectively 5 different endings throughout its last couple of seasons. It's just bullshit at the end anyway. It's not fair, Magsy. It's not fair, Magsy. Sam needs to come home.
Well, maybe. Dan says he's glad that he's not the only one who remembers Revolution Mags. What was a really bingeable, I think he means show, but episode that works well. Yeah, it was a great show. Another one that go and watch it, but just be prepared to be disappointed when they don't get the 3rd season. Connor says Bodies is on Netflix here in the States. Going to start watching it soon. Yeah, it's honestly
so good.
It's 4 episodes so far have been such a man fuck. I can't wait for the next 4.
Oh my god, it's only just started as well, Magsy. It's going to get so much more of a mindfuck. It's amazing.
Right, well, keep it stum, sir.
Yeah.
Dan Griffin says, if I were to rewrite the end of The Village, I'd have the monsters be real and just devour everyone. Fuck them. Well, the adults, yeah, because they were all knobheads, weren't they? One of them was one of them was like an alcoholic. One of them was like trying to run away from massive debts that he had. Yeah, fuck them all. Connor says, if you're into horror movies, watch The Witch. It will fuck your head up. So many twists and turns. It's set in 1630 New England at the heart of the Salem witch trials.
Okay.
I think I might have seen it, but I can't remember it. So yeah, I might give it a viewing to see if I can refresh my memory. Dan says, is Lemmy kicking fuck out of the roaming gang of bad sheep?
If Lemmy went out there and there was a sheep, he'd be more intrigued to try and make a friend, I think, because he's just not right, is he?
He would try and hump the sheep, wouldn't he?
No, you don't do that, mate. We lobbed his balls off, didn't we?
Don't stop the winky working.
Well, okay. Stops the urge, though.
That's very true. Sharon says she loves The Mentalist, and then Dan, yeah, you just call him Sir.
Yeah.
Connor says never seen True Detective, but they bring it back in January with a spin-off. What? There's a spin-off of True Detective. That's another show I won't watch as well. Dat Durr, welcome to the show, says Derek was unwatchably bad. Unwatchably might be a stretch, but that 3rd season, yeah, it was not good. Question for Mags: do you want to buy a cock roll? Cock. I'm assuming that's meant to be Cockrell. No, I think
from
that's
our friend Fitch, isn't it?
It is, yes. And then again, Fitch says Ricky Gervais should stop before he starts. Only thing he's done that was reasonably enjoyable was The Office. No, he's also done the Ricky Gervais radio show, which is absolutely hilarious with Carl Pilkington. So look that up on YouTube. Connor just got a text from my sister saying she's flying on for. I'm assuming it's flying down.
Yeah, it must be.
Flying down on Thanksgiving morning, and she'll be staying with us a few days. So I'm happy that I get to see her after a few months. Oh, that's great news.
Oh, lovely.
Connor. Yeah. Go and take her out, treat her. Well, if she's only in town for a few days. And then Dan Griffin says Ricky Gervais should just stop. The one good thing that Ricky Gervais is doing now is every time he hosts an award show in Hollywood, he just fucking rags on the people who are getting awards and how rich and affluent they are. I love that part of him where he's just giving people shit. But yeah, in terms of TV programs and movies, yeah, give it a rest, Ricky. We can't miss you if you're never away.
Well, that's true. That is true. Oh my goodness, what a mammoth non-wrestling topic. We're already this far into the show. We've got a wrestling match to cover. We've got to put forward our options for the poll. We've got to discuss, Hulk Hogan being a Billy bullshitter. And then we got to go, Magsy. I mean, I should be in bed in 10 minutes. We got to really press on. So shall we talk a bit?
Rush through it a little bit.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Okie dokie then. I want a poll. Hooray! Feels like it's happened in a long, long time. And we're going back to the summer of 1992. Beach Blast, WCW's first Beach Blast pay-per-view. There was only a couple of them. I think maybe 94 was the last one. They ran a show called Beach Blast in 94. Or was it just 93?
On the network, there's only the two. The two of them.
Right, okay. So what did we have in 94? 94 might have been Bash at the Beach then instead. But yes, not many of these ran, but there's some good wrestling to be had on these shows at this time. The Iron Man matches in particular, obviously anything Barry Windham and Arn Anderson are involved in, of course, goes without saying. Don't shake your little Burnley head at me. And but we are going to look at the WCW World Champion Sting taking on a quite young-looking Mick Foley in his original Cactus Jack guise in a Falls Count Anywhere match, but not just Falls Count Anywhere. We're told at the start of the match, Falls Count Anywhere on the Gulf Coast, which kind of tickled me a little bit. That's the most WCW thing ever, isn't it? What a nonsense stipulation.
Yeah, and this was from, I think, Mobile, Alabama, the area, which is like an hour away, a full whole hour away from the actual coast.
Yeah.
So the fact that they called it Beach Blast in a city that was an hour away from the nearest beach is ridiculous.
Yeah, it is ridiculous indeed. It is ridiculous. This is really early Sting. This is Surfer Sting, and he's still got the original Sting music. That down, 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 down. Really. It feels very 80s, even though we're in mid 92 here. And I think that's an issue that we have with WCW in this era. And even more so going into, say, 95 at least, that it still feels like late 80s. Yeah. And I think that really hinders the product at times, Magsy.
Yeah, I think it's a problem that not only WCW had, but WWF had that same problem in a way when they tried to push with the new generation. It was clinging on to what had worked in the mid to late 80s, early 90s, and kind of not moving with the times, even though they've got in this match a character in Cactus Jack that is incredibly fresh in 1992. Really kind of sticks out like a sore thumb. When you look at the kind of characters and wrestlers in 1992 WCW. So it's almost like a clash of old guard and kind of new style in this.
Yeah, and the old guard with regards to, I suppose, the rules that WCW were putting in place at this point is
Fucking
really
Bill Watts.
Bill Watts. This is when he didn't last long in WCW, but I can remember as a kid this happening. I can remember watching WCW Worldwide and so on ITV, and I can remember when they banned moves from the top rope. They banned wrestlers being thrown over the top rope. They took away the mats at ringside, so it was bare concrete to try and stop wrestlers doing stuff outside the ring. And it was, I remember those things happening as a kid and being a bit gutted that the moves off the top rope weren't going to happen. The mats and everything else, I was too young to understand why that would be relevant to me. I was like 10, 11, whatever it may well be. But the moves off the top, I was thinking, oh man, that's a real shame. And it seems such a daft thing. But I mean, obviously, it worked for Bill Watts when he was promoting in Mid-South, but he was promoting Mid-South in 1984. This is 1992. It's a completely different scenario, isn't it?
Yeah, wrestling had moved on. And he was probably trying to harken back to what worked in 1984, but it just didn't work now.
No.
Or it didn't work in 1992. And the wrestlers were very against it. The fans were certainly against it. And he just was so pig-headed about it that he almost wanted to run the company very almost authoritarian.
Yes.
There was no flexibility with him, and he made a lot of enemies because of that.
Yeah, and that's why he didn't last very long at all. But there we go. I do like, however, the entrance way for these WCW shows, because the aisleway and the ramp and so on is all one, and it's all one height, and it's all the same height as the actual mat for the ring itself. So the mat literally runs, you climb out the ring, and that entranceway is raised all the way back to the actual door, or the entrance that the wrestlers come from the dressing rooms from. And Cactus Jack makes his entrance first and waits for Sting halfway down the aisle, which is obviously elevated ring height. And that's brilliant, because then Sting comes out, the bleached hair, the makeup, and these incredibly bright, garish pink tights, which look so crazy now to think that's what he used to wear looking at him nowadays. But obviously this was his gimmick at the time. Drops the world title on the floor, takes his coat off, runs down, and
straight at it.
Yeah, and the crowd go mad. I mean, Sting here, they love Sting, don't they, this crowd? That he is over.
He's the white meat babyface of all white meat babyfaces.
Yes.
The crowd absolutely love him. And this is a crowd of elderly women. The majority, I mean, the whole of the front row are pretty much old women. There's one who is even having a bit of a buffet whilst she's there. She has a paper plate, and I think she got a bit of quiche and an egg sandwich on it. Yeah, but they loved Sting, absolutely loved him. Everything he did just got massive reactions.
Indeed. We get a unique spot here that's only really capable to happen, only really able to happen, because of that unique ramp that runs all the way down, where the guys run the ropes, but they're outside the ring. And I love it. It's so simple, and they can only do it because of the actual surroundings that they've got in WCW at this time. But it just looked so weird, but brilliant at the same time. And we have the guys running the ropes on the outside of the ring, and then Sting backdrops Jack onto the ramp, which makes a horrific noise when he lands, and then hits him with a bulldog as well for a 2 count. And we're straight away seeing that Jack's going to take some silly bumps in this match, isn't he, Maxie?
Yeah, and the bulldog is almost it reminded me of a Famouser. Really well done.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, you can tell we're gonna get some big bumps. Bear in mind that this is still 1992, and if you're comparing this to say 97, 98, 99, it's nowhere near that level. But for 1992, this was a pretty damn hardcore match. A lot of the action takes place on the outside of the ring. But one of the best spots for me is when Sting tries the Stinger Splash. Tries to from the outside. Bear in mind, we're still on the outside on the entranceway, and Cactus ducks, and Sting essentially Stinger splashes the actual corner post, catches it on the chest, and ends up in the ring. I thought that for 1992 was a great spot.
The top rope as well literally wallops him in the bollocks.
Yeah, it does.
And
He
you
took
can
a
see
few
that
hits off that.
he's got a bit of a gut rot. He's winded a bit from that ball shot, I think, because he drops to the deck, almost tries to get up, and then just goes, "Oh no, maybe not yet." Yeah, he looked very uncomfortable, didn't he?
Yeah.
Jack follows this up though with the Cactus Jack spot that was so used. There's certain moments in this match where you can see stuff that Foley would do a great deal in his later career as well. But there's also moments that he did as Cactus Jack early on that kind of stopped being done after a few years, I suppose because of wear and tear. And one of them is this. He's on the apron of the ring. Sting is now on the floor rather than the ramp. And Jack just runs and hits an elbow drop onto the concrete. Now, he's obviously trying to protect his opponent, so the elbow's not literally driving into Sting's chest. But Jack's hip and leg and ribs are smashing into that concrete, and he is not a small man, so that's got to do some damage.
And then he gets on the apron again and does the diving sunset flip onto the concrete. Like I said, if you compare this with late 90s, early 2000s, this seems tame. But back in 92, doing these dives on bare concrete, the crowd were just ravenous for this. The fans were just going mental at these spots. And you see, then they start using the guardrail as a major weapon. And when Sting and Cactus are both bouncing each other's heads off it, the old women in the front row are going mental. You see them all like cheering and hollering, like, "Yeah, smash his fucking face in!" They are an angry crowd.
Yes, they do not like Jack.
No.
You mentioned there about the sunset flip spot. We also get a suplex as well. They end up fighting into the crowd at one point, and Sting suplexes Jack onto the floor. And again, this is bare concrete. There's nothing down, and it looks weird, doesn't it? Because we're always used to something, but this just looks weird. It looks like they've not finished setting the arena up. And again, you talk about modern day and even wrestling just 10 years after this with regards to what the guys do in the ring and the aerial stuff and so on. But you got to remember the likes of the Bucks and so on now, and even Hangman, who's a bit bigger than the Bucks, doing these moonsaults to the floor and all that sort of stuff. Yes, okay, they've got crash mats down, but they're what? They're a certain height, and the Young Bucks are what? Neither of them are over 200 pounds, I don't think. There's not much to them.
No.
This man here, he's clocked as being 304 pounds. He is a massive man.
I don't think there's much embellishing on that number.
No. And he is walloping his body on the concrete over and over and over. And some of the noises we get, first of all, from the ramp, and then from the chair shots as well, but also from hitting the concrete. It's born on concrete. That's the noises that you get. So yeah, they spend a little bit of time in the crowd, and you see all the officials having to hold these crazy old women back because they all want to get their hands on Sting. I think Bill Alfonso is the referee, and he's there trying to marshal everyone around. And then another move that looks ordinary now, but back in 1992, Sting does a suplex on that concrete, and the way Cactus Jack takes it, how he didn't pop a hip out of place is beyond me, because he gets slammed into that concrete. It's ridiculous. It is. Jack does take control eventually, though, when we actually finally return to the ring after some near falls on the outside and so on. I mean, that's something I really like about this as well. It's not just a spot fest. It's not just, oh, let's do this suplex. Let's do the backdrop on the cement. Let's do this. Every time there's an opportunity, both guys are trying to make a cover and win the match.
Yeah.
Which makes it make sense. You know, it makes it make sense. It's not just, oh, we've done a backflip, let's get up and do another backflip because it looks good. It's a sporting contest. They're supposedly trying to win, and they're making it look like they're trying to win. But we do get back into the ring, and Cactus Jack hits a pretty stiff-looking clothesline to finally take control. Yeah. And this is where we get Jim Ross talking about Sting's current feud with Vader over the world title, and Vader has done in Sting's ribs. And then Jack starts working these ribs with a leg scissors around his body, and also running into the corner when Sting is propped up in the buckles and hitting him in the ribs that way. And again, it's very simple, but it makes sense for the story they're trying to tell, Magsy, doesn't it?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's like you said, he's working a body part, and there's not a lot better in wrestling than when wrestlers have are attacking a body part and doing it purposefully. They are trying to weaken their opponent instead of doing moves for the sake of, wow, that looks awesome. They're trying to win the match. It's as simple as that.
Just the way it should be. It's the way it should be. I've done it wrong. Again, I always use the Bucks as an example. Maybe I'm a bit unfair to them, but it's the first thing that pops in my head. But that sort of style of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible athletes, fantastic to watch, crazy exciting matches they put on. But it does seem like a dance sometimes, or it does seem like they're going from spot to spot.
You can sense the choreography.
Yeah.
You can sense the choreography. Yeah.
If they did one of their incredibly spectacular and sometimes not quite believable moves, and then went for a cover, it might help a little bit, rather than hitting this.
And if the wrestlers didn't magically wobble into position, or
well, there you go.
For it, where in this match it looks like a fight where body parts are being focused on to weaken the opponent.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. We end up back on the floor again. We get the Cactus Jack clothesline spot that sends that sends them both flipping over the top rope, which is how Jack lost half of his ear in Germany, wasn't it, against Vader? They're doing that spot and getting his head stuck in the ropes.
The dead man, the hangman spot.
Yeah,
he never learned from that, did he?
He didn't. This is when Cactus Jack gets a chair and he starts walloping Sting across the back, which at first glance, we're kind of used to that now in modern day wrestling, because the chair shots to the head are kind of frowned upon in most situations, and rightfully so. So sometimes in modern day, it looks a bit tame because they're not striking the head anymore, like how you and I might have grown up watching magazine, the Attitude Era, and so on. Mm-hmm. But here, Jack's walloping Sting on the back, and the chair is buckling and breaking, and the noise again is incredible just from hitting him on the back. And I think I'm glad he didn't hit him in the head, because that looked stiff and awkward.
I mean, we watched a match just last week where people were getting waffled with chairs in the head. So to see wrestlers earlier than that being sensible, that's fine. And you don't need the headshots. And I wish that era of wrestling didn't happen, really.
Well, yeah, there we go. Cactus Jack kind of hits Sting with a pile driver on the concrete. Sting kind of half gets out. It's,
Yeah, it almost looks like Cactus's knee buckles. Like he's genuinely picked up an injury in this match. And like I said, he pretty much almost drops him on his head. So I think so far that's the only real kind of moment of the match. Other than that, it's been really good so far.
We get another crazy moment from Jack as well, though, don't we? Because on this occasion, he goes up to the middle rope while Sting is not in the ring, on the floor, the concrete floor, and and crazy Cactus Jack. I think it's another elbow he goes for, Magsy. Is that right?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, but Sting moves.
He does. Brutal.
Yeah, and he just crashes into the concrete, and oh my word, it's just,
the guy was mental. How he's still alive now, is beyond me.
Yeah, definitely. We're back on the ramp again, and we're fighting around there as well. And this time, Sting has hold of the chair, and he hits Jack a few times, and we get those incredible noises again from those chairs and so on that they were using.
Boink.
Yes. Cactus Jack DDTs Sting on the ramp. And I don't know what the ramps are made of. I'm assuming it's just a type of wood. I don't know how hollow they are. But that particular spot, hitting of the DDT, there's almost like an echo to it.
Yeah, there definitely was. That's definitely a wooden box that this stood on. And you get Jim Ross on commentary saying, all that's protecting Sting's head is that thin piece of carpet. Yeah, give the game away there, Jim.
And then very quickly, the match is over.
Yeah, and watching this now in 2023, it's a bit of a damp squib ending. But I understand why, because in 1992, Bill Watts, he had banned moves off the top rope. So the fact that this was a no disqualification style match, winning with a move off the top rope, it makes sense. But it's just a bog standard diving clothesline.
Yeah.
It just,
I mean, it still looked good. Don't get me wrong. I mean, again, we come back to, these aren't cruiserweights. These aren't little guys. Sting's what? He must be 6'4", 6'5". He's 250 pounds. He's jumping off the top rope to diagonally go across to the ramp to hit a flying clothesline. So it looks, again, you place yourself back in 92, it probably looked even more spectacular than it does now and so on. But it just does feel like once he's hit that, we almost want something else before he
finish
wins,
move,
maybe.
Yeah. A finish move,
Yeah.
Like locking maybe the Scorpion Deathlock and have Cactus tap out or something like that. But it is what it is. And it was a very quick match for one with such a hardcore stipulation. I think it only goes just over 11 minutes.
Yes. But the pace of it as well, it doesn't feel rushed. It's not like they're going from one thing to another super fast because they're selling. They're making sure that what they're doing is registering to the people watching at home. But the pace of it feels like 100. Like both guys are going 100 mile an hour, while still being able to fit in almost the storytelling aspect that his ribs are hurting, so he sells the ribs and so on. It's not spot finish.
Yeah,
if I've explained that properly.
No, you're absolutely right. I think for me, I enjoyed it. I think it could have done with maybe a little bit more time. And it's always weird watching a world heavyweight title match in the middle of a card.
Oh, it wasn't for the title. That makes it even weirder.
No, well, the champion in the middle of the card, yeah. But for a prototype of a hardcore match, it didn't outstay its welcome. They didn't overstretch it and kind of make it silly. It made sense for the time period it was in.
Yeah, and where it was in the sort of standings of the pay-per-view, they still had an Iron Man match to put on after this, and their main event was a World Tag Team match. Which they were going to be given quite a lot of time to as well.
Well, that went half an hour as well.
Yeah. So I kind of understand why this was maybe as short as it was, because they must be thinking at the other end of the show, well, we've got these big long matches to come. We've got to try and make sure we don't overrun. But I'm guessing, and I don't know that for a fact. I'm just assuming,
Yeah. I mean, all the elements there make sense. It's just weird seeing potentially your biggest star of the company like in the piss break section.
Yeah. Well, in my opinion, if you went for a piss here, you would have missed something pretty good. But Magsy, we always go to you first. Out of 10, what are you thinking?
I enjoyed this. It's not a match that I remember seeing before. I think it's really fresh for the era. It really stands out on this card because it just feels new and, like I said, fresh. Kind of like the essence of a hardcore match, something that we'd see more and more over the coming years. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a really well done match. A little bit short, and the placing on the card was a little bit weird for me, but I'm happy giving this an 8.
Oh wow, okay. Oh, you've actually gone higher than me. I've got 7.5.
I mean, a smidge higher then.
Yeah, a smidge higher, but still, I didn't think you'd go higher than me for some reason. I don't know why. But yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad, and it is a match that I'd happily watch again. So, and I suppose when we do these kind of things, sometimes people they watch the match before they listen to the show. Sometimes they just listen to the show and don't check out the wrestling matches and so on. This is 11, 12 minutes long.
Yeah.
Go and check it out, because don't be put off by the fact it's WCW. Don't be put off by the fact it's 30 years ago. It's an enjoyable 12 minutes of wrestling. So go and check it out. You're probably going to enjoy it.
Agreed.
But there we go. Magsy, where would you like to go next week?
Okay, so when looking for a link, I think I may have stumbled upon your reason for picking this match.
Okay.
Because Beach Blast only has a couple of shows, and Beach Blast 1993 has a world heavyweight title match with your BFF, Mr. Barry Windham, facing Ric Flair. So I thought he's trying to fucking wangle a Barry Windham link in here. I best up my game to make sure that Barry Windham doesn't rock up. So I thought I would link to the Mobile Civic Center, where this was from, and that's that's had quite a large history with fairly modern day wrestling. But there's only ever been 2 pay-per-views there. One was this one that we've just talked about, and then the other was 1998 WCW Uncensored.
Right, hang on. Can I just stop you there 1 second? I've used exactly the same formats to link to exactly the same pay-per-view.
But have we gone for exactly the same match?
This is going to be interesting. I've got a funny feeling we might have, but go on. What have you got from Uncensored 98?
So for Uncensored 1998, there's quite a few fair to middling matches for Dave Meltzer's ratings, but there's a couple that are kind of outstanding. And the one I'm going for is a triple threat match for the WCW United States title, and it sees Diamond Dallas Page versus Chris Benoit versus Raven.
Why? I think
I know what you've gone for. I think you may have gone for a match closer to the end of the card, a match that we've covered in a different company.
I think you're right.
I think you've gone for Bret Hart versus Kurt Hennig.
Why? You can see my notes right here.
Because that was, I had 3 picks from this pay-per-view. I was either going to go for that, Bret Hart versus Kurt Hennig, DDP versus Benoit versus Raven, or Jericho versus Dean Malenko. Because they are 3 bangers on this card. So
right, well there you go. I don't need to tell you my link. That must be a first.
That must be a first.
That's weird, isn't it?
Matches from the same pay-per-view,
and we've linked exactly the same way by the venue. I don't think we have done that before. Have we had matches from the same pay-per-view?
I was convinced you was going to go for Beach Blast 93 and Barry Windham versus Ric Flair for the title.
Do you know
I worked myself into a shoot, brother.
Do you know what's absolutely disgusting on my part, Magsy?
You didn't even think of it, did you?
Totally forgot that match happened. But those are your options for next week's poll, which will be up towards the end of the week on our Twitter at @chain_wrestling. There we have 2 matches from Uncensored 1998 from the same building that hosted Beach Blast 92, hence the link. We have Magsy's choice of Diamond Dallas Page versus Chris Benoit versus Raven for the United States title, Magsy, was it?
It is, yep. Triple threat.
In a triple threat match. Very highly rated contest there. Or we have Bret the Hitman Hart versus Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, from the same show. Like I said, the poll will be up later in the week. Make sure you're voting, retweeting, and all that good stuff to get, hopefully, to talk about the match that you want us to discuss. There we go. Magsy, I suppose we've only got one thing left to cover before we dive into the chat, haven't we?
We have.
Well, let me tell you something, brother.
Liar, liar, pants on fire, hanging from a telephone wire. Squirming, squirming, pants are burning. When I lie, my hips start turning.
Wow, that's unbelievable. Look, man, I made a mistake.
So, Hulk Hogan, the big, massive yellow prick. So Jesse, the Body Ventura, tried to form a union for the wrestlers so they could have pay parity and better contracts. And he was someone snitched on him. It was Hulk Hogan, snitched to Vince McMahon. But Hulk Hogan, being friends with Jesse Ventura, denied that he ever outed Jesse as the person setting up the union. Never ever admitted it to his face. So Hogan is a prick.
So he's a two-faced Billy bullshitter.
Yes.
And a grass. And his son's a fucking scumbag.
Yeah. He's just
family, man.
What a knobhead.
Yeah, what a collection of idiots. His ex-wife, fucking hell, all of them. Idiots. Anyway, I love that, mate. I love the fact that we're digging at Hogan every week. It's fucking brilliant. Let's scan quickly through the chat before we depart and I get to go to bed because I am tired.
So Dan Griffin says there is no one more bloodthirsty than old ladies in the front row. Yeah, I mean, all of them had flowery dresses on, and they were all angry as fuck. Properly mental old ladies. Sharon dropping a yawn, and then Dan saying, "Give over, Shah. This is Victorian wrestling. This Victorian wrestling is interesting. Remember who picked it?
Victorian."
Sharon then laughs and says, for your information, I wasn't being rude. Sar just tried to hide a big yawn.
I did yawn. Yes, I did yawn.
So he's
I'm not
tired. He's tired. And Dan Griffey says, of course you weren't. And Dan says, if I remember rightly, Cactus losing the ear was because the German ropes were effectively elevator cables and they pulled tight around his neck. He had to wiggle free. And it cost him his look. Yeah, that I think I remember reading that in his book. And it went
sort of twang, didn't it? And just ripped it clean off.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think WCW ropes are literally rope, made out rope, and WWF and a lot of European rings are made of steel, essentially. Like twisted steel.
Wasn't it? I think WWF was still using rope as well. I think WCW were using cable for some shows,
and I knew it was one or the other.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-hmm.
Something I don't know.
Dan says higher rating from Mags. What a turn up for the Bucks, and exactly what this match deserves. No, it was I do not agree with this area of wrestling. It doesn't agree. It's not my scene, I suppose, but I did enjoy this bloody match. It was a cracking match. And he says, I cannot not go for a Brett versus Hennig, but a 50-50 would be nice.
Standard. He's always going to chuck it out there, Magazine. I don't think it matters what we put forward. I think that's always what he's going to want.
Yeah, exactly. It's just the way of Griffin. He just likes to watch the world burn.
Exactly, mate. Oh, there we go. That, I suppose, is the end of this week's Chain Wrestling Live. Magsy, before we depart, do you want to let everyone know whereabouts they can find your good self online?
Yeah. Firstly, thank you all for sticking with us. I mean,
yes.
You could have easily been watching the England match and us going Broadway, going long. Just thank you for sticking around. We absolutely massively appreciate you as always. Follow me on TikTok down here, or you can you absolute arsehole Dan Griffin. He's just put Dance for Me podcast puppets. That's what it feels like sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can follow me on TikTok at PodFatherMags, or you can follow me on Twitter at PodFatherMags. Probably won't answer or acknowledge you even start following me, so maybe don't bother doing that.
Fair enough. Anything I'm involved in, you can find by the network that carries this show, and that's all over pretty much bloody everywhere. Spotify, iTunes, all the places you've listened to your podcasts. YouTube, of course, that's where we are now. Twitch,
Radio Gloucester,
Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at SJP World Media.
Pornhub.
Excuse me. We've got so much content there. It's so difficult to list. We've got music podcasts. We've got stuff looking at Doctor Who, Quantum Leap. We've got all sorts. I mean, the Doctor Who pod, by the way, firmly now into its 5th season, and I'm bloody loving having that back. It's great stuff talking to Dad Griffin again about that crazy alien in the blue box, and just poking fun at some of the old shit where the set wobbles and stuff like that. We do it from a place of love, but it's quite funny to look back on sometimes. But you can go check that out as well via SJP World Media. But most importantly, you can find and follow this show on Facebook and Twitter at chain_wrestling. And if you do have a Twitter, make sure you are following us, because that's where our non-wrestling topics and our weekly polls go up. And if you don't have a Twitter, start one up just to follow us, because we're fucking worth it. So there we go.
I mean, that was a cool rant.
Thank you. Maxie, I'm off now, quite simply, to go to fucking bed. I'll speak to you next week, my friend.
Barry Windham loses the title to Ric Flair at Beach West 1993.